Check 1, 2.
Good morning. I hope there'll be no objections with us starting a minute early this morning, but since everyone's seated and ready to go, I feel like we're in a classroom today, and so I think that we should go ahead and get started. An appropriate and eager start, obviously with the school year starting for us next week. So I'm here to welcome everybody and call to order our Friday, August 12th session of the State Board of Education. We'll start off with reports this morning. With myself, first and foremost, I wanted to thank the Fayetteville School District. I had the opportunity to be able to give a message to all of their teachers and administrators, a welcome back for the school year. I'd never done something like that before, and have been a graduate of the school district and the public schools there. It just meant so much for me to be able to thank in a very public platform all the teachers that made my career possible, and to hopefully connect that dot for a lot of teachers. I know we always aspire, but we don't always know the outcomes of our students, and I just had on a very personal note an opportunity to say thank you. And so as we get started this year, I also encourage my colleagues. I've just gotten a wonderful response and extension from a lot of superintendents around the state. I think they're eager to get to know who we are. They'd love to invite us into the classroom, and so I also promised the superintendents with whom I was visiting that I would extend that invitation to you all as well. As you travel around the state or even in your home communities, if there's an opportunity for us to be that bridge between the districts and the schools, I've always found a very, very strong welcome, and they wanted me to extend that to you as well. And so also, with my reports this morning, I would like to make sure all of our colleagues are aware we do have our work session next week, or not next week, sorry, Deb looked at me, next month, in terms of our NASB grant. And I'm so excited, and I need to also be able to thank publicly Deb Kaufman for the role she's played in liaising with NASB and our consultant, Frances Eberly, in terms of trying to put together some common language and some common documents that can hopefully facilitate that conversation. It's been a really exciting document. An audit is what they've called it, that they produced around visioning of education in Arkansas. All of you all will get that in anticipation of our next meeting, and I do hope everyone will be able to stay and be part of that work session. We've also extended a warm welcome to Forward to come introduce, in the hopes that we can again have this broader conversation of visioning with all the partners around the table, and these stakeholders that are hopefully going to give us some investment and support as we move ahead. And if any of you would have any invitees particularly that you would like to see around the table there, Deb has been maintaining that list, and if I recall correctly, you need name and contact information and title in terms of facilitating that invitation. But if any of you all, because we are looking at this as an interagency opportunity, and we know that many of you have deep contacts in the community and within our state government beyond just here in the Department of Ed. So we extend an invitation to you all as well to help us think through strategically those invitations. And then finally, I will ask for our next work session if thought could be given in regards, and I'm posing this the first time both to Deb and to the commissioner as well as to all of y'all. But again, I've just had that unique privilege the last several weeks of visiting several school districts and with several superintendents. And one of the common things I've heard was, well, why do you do all your meetings in Little Rock, right? Why can't you come out here and, we'll lend you our facilities. We'd love for you all as a state board to come visit us. And I know we had talked about it. We did it last year on a couple occasions, although one was obviously in very close proximity, which was the Pulaski County Special School District. But I did want to pose to this board that conversation, and whether we could have that conversation maybe tagged on to the work session that we do next month, if it might be opportune to make a couple site visits. And then I offered to the commissioner and to Ms. Kaufman any thoughts on maybe strategically, like there was for last year with Helena, West Helena, obviously a very opportune time for us to go meet with that community. If there's other districts that emerge for you all where we could see some benefit in that conversation, and or maybe on the other flip end, as was kind of ending the conversation yesterday, success stories, right? Opportunities for us to, by our presence, be able to elevate some really unique or special things that are going on. I can envision more than a couple of those trips. It may even be just one, but I would like to plant that seed for my colleagues and for the department. And I hope again at our next work session next month, once everyone has had an opportunity to reflect on it, that could be also part of our conversation for the work session. And so I offer that as well. And those are my reports. Now I defer to my colleagues, and I'll just go around the table here and see if anyone has some additional reports that they would like to share, starting with you, Dr. Hill. Ms. Dean, Ms. Zook.
Just want to wish everyone a good start of the school year, and the districts that I have visited in and the teachers with whom I have visited are all excited and have learned something new over the summer and have attended things that Ms. Abels has been involved with, and the other people in the department, and they're all really excited. Those of us in the profession think the first day of school is like better than Christmas, so good luck to everyone.
Very well said, Ms. Zook. Dr. Barth.
First off, so the work session next month will be in the evening, on Thursday evening? Okay,
Correct.
great.
And here at the department, correct, Ms. Kaufman?
Yes, we're planning to rearrange the tables and have everyone down on the floor in kind of a round table conversation. And the reason I need a list of invitees is so we have a proper dinner count.
Great. And obviously at that time, you'll hear, we hope, more on where Forward is. Obviously, Susan Harriman is on board with Forward, and then they're staffing up more fully, and that means there's starting to be movement on some of the big parts of the Forward initiative. And in particular, of course, in addition to thinking about the Forward communities, also thinking about the next legislative session and what role Forward will play in that. So hopefully you'll begin to get a hint of that at that meeting, but if not, I'll follow up more fully the next day. The only other thing I have to mention is just to reiterate the NASB national meeting in Kansas City, which is October 19th to 22nd. And so if that works for anybody's schedule, let Doug know. The registration is right on the front page of the NASB website. That's all.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Williamson, Mr. Black, Ms. Chambers, and Ms. Newton.
I just want to take a minute and wish all the teachers and districts good luck starting school Monday. I'm going to miss being there, but I know that just from meeting teachers and the new teachers that I got to work with last spring that are coming out of college and in their brand new classroom, they're so excited, and so I just want to wish all of those well also.
Oh, thank you so much, Ms. Newton. I know your students are going to miss you, but we are sure grateful that we're benefiting from all your years of expertise. Thank you. And the same goes, I think, for Ms. Abels. And I know you're speaking later in this agenda, so anything additional you would like to add? Thank you so much, Ms. Abels. So with that, Commissioner, we'll move on to report 2 and the Commissioner's report.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. I have several items for you today. First, I would draw your attention at your place. You should have a copy of the My Child, My Student brochure for 16-17 that lists our topics for the year. So for each month, we will have a college and career readiness topic, and we will have a student safety topic. And if you look on the reverse, we have that also, as we have for some years now, that document also in Spanish. We point our teachers and our administrators to this because this gives a lot of very good information, a lot of resources on our website, And we're bringing it up now because we still find there are a lot of educators that do not realize it's there. So for those who might be watching us on live stream, please go to the arkansased.gov website, and it's under the communications section of our website, and look for My Child, My Student. And Ms. Friedman has that displayed right now on the screen. So if you look, it matches what you have here in front of you. Printable materials as well as electronic resources there. All right, thank you, Kim. And then I'll point to our topic for the month of August for student safety is school bus safety. And we kicked off this week with Ms. Friedman and Dr. Gocher. We're on channel 11. Okay, channel 11. Didn't want to get that wrong. Early one morning, I think it was Wednesday morning, highlighting the Flashing Red Kids Ahead campaign. And they always have a lot of fun with that, but it's important that we bring that to the attention of all the drivers because we all hear stories. And Dr. Gocher would tell stories, and one, they were shocked that he had been a bus driver. There were some folks that were very surprised about that. But he also was able to tell a personal story of seeing violations of the law that could have resulted in very significant damage and injury or even death, as we have seen so often. So it's very important, and we stress how important it is that as you're out next week, Monday morning, please be aware that the school buses will be rolling again. Also, Kim, if you would bring up to our vision page. If y'all will remember, last month we launched our vision page, and I would just want to reiterate and draw your attention to that again. The vision for excellence in education. We are adding to that page on a regular basis. Also point to any time you want to know where we are. If stop right there for a second, Kim. Oh, scroll back up. Right there, under related links. At any point you want to see what groups we've been presenting to and feedback that we've been getting, the Vision for Excellence in Education and Arkansas Accountability System, ESSA log. So if you click that related link, it's a Google Doc, and it takes you to, if you look there, that first tab are the 2015 presentations, and we've been working on the vision since last summer. And then in December, it gave us an opportunity to transition from just our vision to our vision and ESSA. And so the 2016 meeting tab shows you all the opportunities that we have had this year. And scroll over to the column on feedback, Kim, if you would, please. So under feedback notes, we want to make sure at every opportunity that we get feedback from our audience, because all of these presentations are to stakeholders. And if you ever want to see what the feedback is from those presentations, you're certainly able to see that there as we have tried to capture it. So that's the report. Also, finally, I wanted to give you, because we talked about this a little bit last night, and I think I told you that I would bring some information about the timeline as we approach the 2017 legislative session. So the governor's office has issued their guidance for all the agencies. So on August the 1st, the governor's policy team began reaching out to the agencies. So Dr. Sarah Moore began working. Of course, we treat her as part of our team, and so she's with us on a regular basis. But officially on August 1st, we began discussions of possible legislation. And then by August 26th, the governor's office wants an outline of any proposed legislation to begin their review, and that will be a very high-level summary at that point of the proposed legislation. And we have already, for a few months now, been working on that list. And by September 16th, first drafts of legislation would be due to the governor's office for review. And then as we get into October and November, in October, they will be identifying priority agency legislation. We and the governor's office will determine those priority bills, and will begin to solicit stakeholder support. And at that point, you all have asked us on a number of occasions, how can you help? That will be the point at which the agency is released by the governor's office to begin asking for feedback, asking for support for those big pieces of legislation. We'll keep you updated on that. And then later in November, the non-priority, those lower priority, I'm not sure if non-priority is right, but lower priority bills will get final go-ahead from the governor's office, and then we'll keep you updated on all that as we go. But just know that over the next end of the summer and into the fall, there's going to be a lot of work that we'll be doing, and a lot of that work is going to be on updating from No Child Left Behind, because you know there are a lot of references to No Child Left Behind. Even if we don't have all of the pieces in place for our accountability plan under ESSA, there will be the necessity to go in and clean up some of those old references and old provisions. So that is my report, Madam Chair. I'll be glad to accept any questions.
Thank you. Commissioner. Yes, Dr. Barth.
I just want to make a comment. I really appreciate that vision of what the next few months are going to look like. I think since I've been on the board, we've never had that before, which I think signals to me an openness to our engagement and conversation about that. And I think there are good allies around this table with connections in different parts of the state. So I think it is a very good, prudent strategy as well. So I just want to say I appreciate that very much.
Well, thank you, and I'll pass that along to the governor, because he certainly is interested in, governors appoint these agencies and these boards, and so part of that role is to provide feedback and support working through the various agencies. So I know he realizes the importance of that. I'll certainly pass along that comment to him. Thank you, Dr. Barth.
And I would echo that as well, Commissioner, and for those of us that might have inquiries about some of those priorities, I'm assuming as board members we might be able to just ask for a meeting with you or a conversation with you of around some of those, especially with some of the work topics that have emerged. And I know yesterday we had identified that some of those issues would have to be legislated, and so if just to offer lift up some feedback or some inquiries if that's possible within, I guess the first deadline there is your August 26th, is that correct?
Right, that's correct.
Wonderful. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Commissioner. Any additional comments or questions from my colleagues?
I just appreciate the Everett family and the dealerships for partnering on the Flashing Red Children Ahead campaign. They've got a lot of commercials going, and a lot of times people may not hear it from the educators, but maybe they see the commercials. So I think that is of value as well.
Kim, do you have that video from Springdale? Yes. Okay. Y'all are really going to like this. We're going to love it. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So we'll close my report with a, we ask our school districts to share things with us, and that we want to try to get the word out. And sometimes we get things that are just too good, and we want to share them. So this is one of those. So we're gonna listen to a little video and music video from Papa Rap up in Springdale.
Don't pass the bus with the flashing lights. That's picking up or dropping off. It's against the law and you'll get caught. Be safe, be nice, don't pass the bus. El autobús escolar no puedes pasar. Cuando se detenga a recoger o a dejar. Luz intermitentes hay que detenerse. Si no eres paciente te van a multar. El autobús escolar no puedes pasar. El autobús escolar no puedes pasar. Don't pass the bus, don't pass the bus. Alto, stop!
And if I could offer some context, Papa Rap, and he really is, his official name is Al Lopez, but known statewide as Papa Rap, and he actually serves as a community liaison for the Springdale High School up there, and then obviously that position has built out. But it's just one of those examples of school districts taking initiative, seeing a changing face of their community, and Springdale was fortunate enough to be able to have the funds to invest in somebody that is dedicated to outreach specifically with our immigrant community, and now we've seen a few other districts do that up there, and this is just one of the many things that he's been able to bring to the community, and he's a well-known DJ personality up in Northwest Arkansas as well, and so combines a lot of great facets, and I really appreciate you all sharing that. Yes, Ms. Sook?
Another thing, if those of you on the board have not already, if you will go to the different districts, most of them do Twitter, some of them have Facebook, and if you'll follow them, then it's real good way to keep up with them and what's going on, and get to see these kind of things because they, post them in Twitter and do Facebook, and so that's been real helpful to me. So if you aren't already doing it, you might want to explore that.
That's wonderful advice. Thank you, Ms. Sook, and thank you, Commissioner, for your report. And if I'm correct, your comments covered both Report 2 and 3, correct?
Actually,
Or is there more under Report 3,
there's
Commissioner?
more under Report 3. I would like to invite Tina Smith to come up, and let me introduce Tina to you all. Tina has been with us since early in July, and she filled the role that Susan Harriman had.
Okay.
So, Susan departed, went to Forward, Arkansas. Now we have Tina, and Tina has been tasked with being the point person on ESSA. And she is doing a great job coordinating our efforts there. But she has some follow-up information that she would like to give to you at this time. So I'll turn it over to Tina.
Okay, Kim, if you can pull up,
I'm not sure the mic.
okay,
There she is.
if you can pull up the website for us. I think that one of the things you guys are going to be asked is, what are we doing in Arkansas to prepare for this and get ready? And the first thing that you can tell them is send them to our website, because everything that we are doing, there is this link on the very front page on the right column near the bottom, and once they click on that, we are trying to be very transparent. All of our communications, all of our plans, everything that we are working on is posted on this website. So if you have questions, you can go there, and obviously, if you'll go back up to the top just a little bit, Kim, to that first paragraph gives a little bit of an explanation of what it is, and I'll be honest, on July 1st, when I started working here, I had no idea that the law itself was 431 pages long, I think, and it is a lot, so this little paragraph only just tells you basically the title of what it is. There's a whole lot of work going on at this department from a whole lot of people getting this together for Arkansas. Today I want to focus on how we're communicating. If you'll go down to the stakeholders, we have a place online where people can sign up to, if all they want, and you can do the same, if you want to get an email every time we send out information, people can sign up. Right now, I think the database has about 9,500 people in it, and we're going to be pushing out communication periodically that way. Also, we are going to have community listening forums, and we have those scheduled for all parts of the state, Monticello, Pine Bluff, Alma, Springdale. We have 10 of those, and we are also planning a virtual listening forum, so anybody who can't come out in the evening to one of those 10 can maybe watch online. You can also sign up to be an ambassador, and there is a place online for you to do that as well. The last thing there is our steering committee. Each month, we are going to have a meeting set up much like your meetings, where they will be right here, live streamed, and everyone that wants to log on and watch can do so, or they can be here watching those meetings. The commissioner should be giving you right now a copy of a short bio and a photograph of all of our members on the steering committee. In fact, I think you're going to get to meet one of them later today for another purpose. Anthony Bennett is here, I think. Yes, he is. And so this gives you an idea of who's going to be serving on that committee later today. This will be on our website, along with all of those meeting dates and times will also be. If you just go to this section of steering committee, there will be another link for all of this information that you're getting right now. Scroll down just a little bit more, Kim. This is our timeline, and under that arrow, there's a little bit more detailed timeline. There's a link there that you can click on as well. And it just gives you how we have this laid out and what we want it to look like for us in Arkansas. I think I'll stop right there and ask if anyone has any questions before I move on. Okay, Kim, we'll go back to the website.
Yes, Dr. Barth.
So in terms of, if we could go back up to the timeline. So in terms of kind of feedback, formal feedback from this group, from the state board as a group, is that where, if anywhere, is that in the timeline?
It is not specifically listed in the timeline. In my mind, I felt like that would be an ongoing process that would be happening all the time, but I think that's something to be noted.
It's wrapped up, though, too, with Ms. Newton being on the steering committee. And so we're going to talk about this every month. I mean, so this will be on reports day from now for the foreseeable future. We will have an ESSA component. And at that time, that's when we encourage your feedback for anything that, at any point along the way on this process.
Thank you for that, Commissioner. If I could say, though, I have asked if possible, if our work session for October could be dedicated to ESSA, just so we could go a little bit more in detail to this. So after we have a conversation, a broader visioning and intersectionality with other departments, if we might have some special time with you in October, and so that we can also this way be better in our feedback with Ms. Newton, so that we know how to direct better comments to her and lift up perspectives and such. And so if that's possible for October work session, I know I would appreciate that with our docket, just to make sure, given the importance of this. And I did notice that the fall is for stage 1 stakeholders, and so I hope that would be timely in the middle of that process. You all may have received some feedback at that stage, still garnering feedback, and we may be able to, as stakeholders as well, offer support for that process, if I may be so humble in offering up, Commissioner.
Well, I mean, those work sessions are y'all determine what the subjects are, so we'll certainly make that happen. That's not a problem.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, Kim, we'll just do the last of the website, and then I'll be finished if there's no other questions. There's also a place near the bottom where there is a public survey and an educator survey where people can go in and provide feedback, and we're already getting some of those. And you can see there is an email address where people can provide public comment at any time. And at the bottom is some more resources that aren't necessarily Arkansas specific, but give some broader information about ESSA itself. Are there any other questions that you have for me today?
I offer my appreciation of the opportunity for Spanish language contributions, and if there's any assistance needed in translating those, I would definitely be curious to see where those are, helping facilitate that connection.
And if I may, Madam Chair, let me just briefly kind of describe how these steering committee members were selected. Certainly one of the components of the legislation, the ESSA legislation, was involvement from the governor's office, involvement from the state boards of education, and input from the legislature. So that's why I asked you last month, and you all agreed for Ms. Newton to be on there, and that's why the chairs of the respective House and Senate Education Committees are there as well. If you look through and you see some of the others, we tried to get a cross-section of practitioners, folks who are out there in the field doing these things, not to diminish the importance of the representative groups out there, because this is not going to be the only group that's going to be meeting. There's going to be a lot of work by smaller, more focused groups, and in those groups, those committees will then provide information and feedback to this steering committee. So every steering committee meeting, it's going to be just like this. It's going to be just like a state board meeting. It's elevated to that level of importance. And we're going to live stream. We're going to have it posted on the website for those who can't be on the live stream, who can't be here in person. And there will be presentations each month on a specific topic or set of topics. Ms. Bratton is, you all may see the family resemblance, but she is Mike Hernandez's sister. So she's going to be helping us with bringing the ESL perspective. Ema Etam is a dynamic teacher in Pine Bluff that we were became acquainted with through Sarah Moore. And I just want to express thanks to the administration in Pine Bluff for allowing her to be a part of this. Joyce Flowers. Joyce Flowers is one of our favorites. She helps organize the reading celebration at Camden Fairview every year, which is just a fantastic celebration that we've come to know her through that. Kelly Gill, she is someone that represents parents. She's very active in the state Parent-Teacher Association. Michelle Hayward is a principal at the middle school, McNair Middle School in Fayetteville. Dr. Harold Jeffcoat, representing the superintendent level administrators from Van Buren, became acquainted with him when he was at the Cabot District, and a couple of years ago got the opportunity to go to Van Buren. And then Gloria Phillips, representing that early elementary level from Rivercrest Elementary School. So we are very excited, and I want to express publicly my thanks for all these folks being willing to spend this, because it's going to be a lot of time and a lot of effort, and they're willing to sacrifice to be a part of it. So looking forward to very positive work that's going to come from this effort.
Thank you, Commissioner, and it's a very impressive list of individuals, and thank you so much. We're a pleasure to meet you, and we look forward to working with you as well, and we appreciate knowing about these resources. So thank you so much. So with that, I don't know if my colleagues have any other questions in regards to this specific report item. Seeing none, then we will pass on to Report 4, the report from Youth for National Change. And I think we've heard about Mr. Bennett. So Mr. Bennett, we're looking forward to meeting you. If you could kindly come to the microphone.
While he's coming, let me say that earlier this year, Dr. Gocher and I traveled to Texarkana and met with Mr. Bennett. And he shared with us his vision and the work that this organization, Youth for National Change, is doing. We had the opportunity to share our vision with him for excellence in education, and we found a lot of common ground. So I'm very happy to have Mr. Bennett here. And Dr. Barth, you may be seeing some of Mr. Bennett over the next few years over at Hendricks.
Well, welcome to the State Board of Education, Mr. Bennett.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Anthony Bennett, a recent graduate of Ashland High School, planning to attend Hendricks College this fall. I currently serve as the South Central Regional Director for the nonprofit organization Youth for National Change, overseeing the states of Arkansas, Louisiana, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Texas. In addition, I serve as the Education Policy Chair for Youth Caucus of America, which is also a licensed nonprofit.
Hi, I'm Sarah Hoopchuk. I serve as the Director of Field Operations for Youth for National Change for Arkansas, and I was just appointed as the State Director. I also serve on the Health Policy Team for Youth Caucus of America.
Hi, I'm Holt Ushery. I serve as the Arkansas Director of Finance for Youth for National Change and the Health Policy Chair for Youth Caucus of America. I'm also going to Hendricks with Anthony in the fall.
Youth for National Change, or YNC as you'll hear it referred to in our presentation, seeks to promote the interest of youth across the United States at a local, national, and the state level. We believe that youth should be able to have their voice their concerns in all things politics and legislative, just as much as their adult counterparts. And one of these major concerns is the quality of their high school education. As this directly relates to them, we feel that they should be able to voice these concerns more often. And that's exactly what we're here today for.
Okay. So today we have two proposals to present to the board. The first proposal would allow student members to serve on local school boards in the state of Arkansas. And we basically believe that this proposal offers a way to allow the people who are in charge of education to establish a bond with the students, parents, and administrators by appointing students from the local high schools onto this board.
And the, let's see. So I'll just go back a little bit. About 2 months ago, I had the opportunity to meet with Commissioner Key and Deputy Commissioner Gocher to discuss what I presented as a desideratum to have more student representation for the benefit of their own educations. And that's why we brought these two proposals. And the first is to provide a direction by this board to local school boards to have student members. And then the second is for this board to support measures to allow student members to serve here. And then Sarah.
So to expand on what Holt was saying earlier about the first of these two proposals, the first is a direction of this board to local school boards to allow student members to serve as representatives there too. Now this inclusion of students' ideas, ideals, and beliefs would create a more inclusive learning environment that would better serve the benefit of the students. We believe this proposal offers a very simple way of allowing those who are in charge of actually creating policy to establish trustworthy bonds between themselves and the students, parents, and administrations that they help. And by working collaboratively with the students whose education they make decisions on, local school boards will be able to better address issues that may otherwise go unrecognized that students face in their local schools. Student perspective is essential in this decision-making process at a local education level because the decisions made there directly affect these students. Now, the very purpose of this proposal is to include that student perspective. And the guidelines for the selections of the students that would serve as representatives are there to help make the student representatives who have the perspectives be as conducive to successful collaboration, respect, and trust as possible. Allowing youth to have a voice in the local proceedings of their education systems can help bridge the gap between administration and student, and more effectively provide policy that targets the issues unique to each school's students and to the district overall. Furthermore, student representatives in our local school boards would prove not only to other students, but to parents, faculty, and other states the willingness of Arkansas to provide the best education possible for its youth and to adapt and to cooperate with the needs of our students.
The second of the two proposed proposals would allow students to serve on the Arkansas Board of Education, and this would allow students to have a say in state and national policy issues, and it would also give students a say in certain issues of their local schools, such as which textbooks to use and the certain rules and procedures that govern each of the schools. And so this would allow these students to have a say in those matters. Anthony, please.
All right. So students serving in either of these capacities, whether on a local school board or the State Board of Education, could dramatically improve public schools, be it a suggestion regarding school curriculum or a recommendation towards how to combat violence and bullying, teen suicides, etc. Students have a lot to bring to the table regarding education policy. And it's in the best interest of us, you, and the state of Arkansas that these suggestions be considered. To further convince you of the benefit in having student members on the board, I contacted several boards of education that currently allow student members and solicited their opinions on the positives and negatives of this allowance. 4 of the 5 boards I contacted responded, and I received 0 negative comments related to having student members present. The first, I think I've passed out. According to the president of the Maryland State Board of Education, which has had partial voting student members since 1985, quote, while each student member had his or her own unique personality and perspective, all came well prepared to serve on the board, and all brought with them a passion for education policy and a deep-seated belief in the value and promise of public education. Similar things were stated by the chair of the Vermont State Board of Education, who added that, quote, as chair, I often called on the students for a student perspective when we were discussing public policy issues, and the full board often benefits from that perspective. It's always interesting to hear how a public policy issue might affect a student, end quote. I believe that this is honestly one of the most valuable things this board can do towards progressing student success in the educational field. Not only does it give youth a voice to shape their own futures, but it opens a rather unseen sense of care between students and school boards. And with that, we conclude our presentation. If you have any questions, we'd be glad to answer.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bennett, Ms. Hupchuk, and Mr. Usuri. Did I get that right? Usuri? Thank you. Well, first and foremost, you all are such tremendous ambassadors for our school. The fact that you all would want to get involved in this way, have done so here in Arkansas, and at the national level speaks volumes. And I just need to, even at a personal level, thank you all for stepping up to that leadership and seeking out these opportunities. I don't know if you are aware of this. Myself and Dr. Barth serve on the National Association of State Boards of Education, and actually some of our members are the student members on the state boards in other states. And so I've had the privilege of working with some of the very individuals that you've listed here, and like you, have only heard positive things about the feedback. And I know that one of the things is we have taken on some challenging and important decisions in recent years. Students that have come to us stating that they want a bigger say, and that they have an opinion, they have a voice, and they would really appreciate the opportunity to be able to lift that up. And so this is something we have heard before, and to be able to offer us some tangible proposals, I think is very exciting, because one of the things that we've been talking about as a board is how do we take what we know to be good practice to actual action, and take action on this. And so this excites me. And I do want to be able to allow all my colleagues to ask questions and weigh in, but I have to ask first, as a point of order for the commissioner, and thank you for putting this, and to Ms. Kaufman for putting this on our agenda. This is really exciting. But I have to wonder if this would be in legislation, or is this something that we actually have the authority to do as a state board? I would have to imagine, at least with the local school boards, we couldn't mandate that, maybe offer the direction or the guidance they should. But what about a member for our state board? Is that something that would also have to be covered in legislation, or is it the kind of thing that, okay, so
Yeah,
both of
I
these
believe
are.
I believe in both cases, to require it would necessitate amendment to the current statutes. Now, as far as encouraging or providing incentives, we've talked about in our strategic vision, how do we create in these communities a broader sense of education, and could having a student representation on the local school board be part of that? And is that something that could fit in as a multiple measure of student success when it comes to accountability plans? So there are conversations going on about how, short of mandating it, that we could strongly encourage it and give districts a reason to pursue that. So we are having conversations about it.
And what would that look like, if I might ask?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, really, because we're in the process of, that's part of the feedback we're trying to get from our stakeholders through our vision and now the ESSA state plan. That's why they're here, because this is part of getting that stakeholder feedback. As students, you know, probably there certainly is not a more important stakeholder in our education than the students themselves. So their presentation and bringing this to you today is one way we thought of getting that stakeholder feedback at a higher level and generating some discussion.
I know there's some districts that their student body president is invited and encouraged to come to each of the board meetings and does a presentation and gives feedback on the things that are going on. And some of them, they each do the presidents of each of their classes. So I think there are districts who do realize that they want to hear from the students, but since the local boards are elected boards, then that there is in statutes, and since our board is an appointed board by the governor, then that also is in statute. So I think we can listen and be aware, but without legislation, I don't think there's really anything. We certainly couldn't dictate to the local districts beyond what they're already doing.
Well, I guess I wonder on a couple levels, though. I mean, for districts in distress or that are under state control, where again, it couldn't be mandated, but it seems that there, with the work of Dr. Wild's team and Dr. Tolbert's team, if that could be one of the ways, right, in terms of getting community involvement, that if we could start maybe folding in some of this as a recommendation in districts with whom we have a little bit more direct relationship, that might be one way of immediately starting to foster that sort of culture advice. And then I have to wonder as well, since we just spoke and you were so gracious, Commissioner, in sharing the timeline with us of legislative priorities, if there's a possibility at all of this being lifted up to the governor's office as something that, you know, that could, again, for all the different things, create a more sustainable mechanism for feedback and relationships with our student bodies. And for us to accompany that process of getting feedback and broader state feedback in that, obviously if we don't have control over the decision, at the very least, if we have the possibility of lifting that up as part of this conversation around what the next legislative session looks like, is something I know I personally would appreciate. Yes, Dr. Barth.
Well, I just wanted to highlight what you said about the way in which this could be incentivized or tangible, both the student engagement as well as tangible parental engagement through some of the mechanisms in ESSA, which is, you know, very pro stakeholder engagement on a meaningful, in a meaningful ongoing way at the local level. And so I think there are some ways to do some innovative things in terms of incentivizing that, making it so strongly beneficial to districts in terms of how they are scored in terms of some accountability measures. That's there. I did have a question on the Arkansas Teacher of the Year was that legislatively added? If it's a non-voting member. Now, do you think a non-voting member could be added without legislation?
I would need to get the legal folks to weigh in on that. And we may have to research it and get back with you.
Just curious.
Yes, I agree. We would have to research it and get back with you. But, you know, definitely if there would be any voting member, it would have to be statutory.
Yeah, I understand voting member. I was just curious on non-voting.
And I do think, though, for some of the states that you presented, are the majority non-voting members? That was my impression.
Yes, many of them are non-voting members. Some of them allow partial voting members to where they can't vote on disciplinary proposals of teachers, et cetera.
But they can vote on other matters?
Yes, like policy and curriculum, textbooks.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Additional questions or comments from my colleagues? Yes, Ms. Chambers.
I had a question about the age threshold. Where did 12 years old come from? And do you know what the average age of the students that are currently participating, what that might be?
Most of the states that allow student members only allow high school students, but I certainly believe that students before that age could definitely contribute a lot to school boards. And it's probably won't occur that they're 12 years old on the local boards or on the state board. However, I'd definitely like that opportunity to be offered, because there may be a brilliant 12-year-old somewhere that could contribute a lot.
I don't know how applicable my experience is, but at the corporate level and at higher ed level, we've had people participate, not students at the corporate board, but people that were viewed to have not maybe had a lot of corporate experience, and therefore the question was, could they engage, could they participate, could it be meaningful? And in both cases, it was extraordinary. The insights, the perspective, and the relationships, to your point. And it allowed the board to be much more relevant in its work.
Thank you, Mr. Chambers. Yes, Dr.
And
Barth.
on that note, the Hendricks Board, I don't know if you're the college board you're on, the Hendricks Board does have a student and a faculty representative, and it's still relatively new. I was the faculty representative, and I think that it did matter a lot in terms of altering some of the priorities of that board. And I do think a key, and now we do have, as you note, examples from a lot of other states, I think a key is getting the orientation process right, so that, because it's a fairly brief window in which student members are on these boards, they really need to be able to kind of hit the ground running in terms of, and so I think through NASB in particular, if the state was ever to go this direction, kind of using some of those lessons learned from other states about how not only did they include those members, but how did they get those student members really ready to be impactful players on the board. I think that's an important point.
Yes, Ms. Abels.
If y'all don't mind, I would be willing to talk to the I'm not used to the microphone yet. I would be willing to talk to the other teachers of the year from the other states and find out what they're doing, if they're doing this, how they're using it, how it's working, because I know several of them had mentioned to me that they do have students on their state board, and I do not mind asking if y'all would like me to.
That would be wonderful, Ms. Abels, and thank you for that initiative. So additional questions? Otherwise, I know I have some final comments here, but to ask my colleagues. So again, thank you so much, Mr. Bennett and Ms. Hopchuk and Mr. Usuri, so much for your time. Yes, Commissioner.
If I may, do you all have examples of any other states' legislation where they may have implemented this?
I don't have direct examples. I have websites from where I found their policies which allow student members. Many of them allow it through like a student advisory council.
Okay. If anything like that you have, if you could get to our legal team so we could research that further, that would be helpful as well, Mr. Bennett. Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Chambers.
If it were possible while you're doing that researching, also the onboarding that Dr. Barth was speaking to, it was interesting. We put all of our time and attention into thinking how we would onboard these younger adults onto our corporate board, and it was actually the board that needed onboarding to know how to really ask the right questions and engage, and not always listen for the same cues that were traditional to board activity.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that you learned from that regard would be helpful too.
Okay.
That's fancy corporate speak, onboarding.
Yeah, the training for training or professional development. But we understood you, Ms. Chambers. No, well, just to be clear, in terms of leaving this, this is our reporting agenda today. So this wouldn't have been our action item or an item for voting today, anyways. But it was definitely a tremendous start to a conversation. You've given us a lot to think about. You've given us homework to do, which, as good students, you should. Adults should always be ongoing in our homework. I hope you're taking away from this that there's definitely a receptivity to what you're saying. And we really appreciate you lifting that up for us. And I hope even more than receptivity, as we shared, we have some entry points with the legislative process, maybe within our rules making, with what's going to be happening in the months ahead with the governor's office and this department, seeing how we'll engage the legislature. We'll be able to do a little bit more research, see what's within our authority here, and hopefully with your role on the ESSA stakeholders group, we'll have an opportunity of an ongoing conversation with all of y'all. But please take away from this a commitment to not let this just be a conversation, but for us to see what we can actually do and what's legal and such. What I would offer as well, and this is with my own day job, I do advocacy with our immigrant community. Start getting to know your legislators. At the end of the day, if this does end up to be a legislative process, you all will want sponsors for a bill that can carry this forward. And so I would say this is a tremendous opportunity to now take it to the next step. The other bodies here in education that work on these issues, and we definitely encourage you all to foster those relationships, plant the seed. And then I will say there's another group I'd like to point you to. The Opportunity to Learn campaign has had a student bill of rights for some time now as part of their agenda, amongst which was representation or voice in local school boards. So that might be another entity that does, as part of their work, advocacy around being more intentional with student voices, and I think they would have a lot of interest in speaking with you. And if I can, or if anyone in the department can help build that bridge, just let us know. But thank you all so much. Please know we're going to continue this conversation, and we really appreciate you all making the time to be here. And best of luck with your studies with the new semester and the school year. And please check in on Dr. Barth and make sure he's doing his job too from time to time. So we appreciate that. Thank you all. Thank you. And with that, we'll now move on to report item 5, Ms. Abels, our 2016 Arkansas Teacher of the Year report.
Well, in case you haven't heard, I've been to the moon and back, and I've been doing cheers all across Arkansas. So today I just kind of wanted to fill y'all in on my experience of Space Camp, and they're going to have several pictures going as I present to you today. It was real exciting to arrive at Space Camp, and one of the first things I saw was a group of teachers wearing Razorback t-shirts, and I run over and I say, "Oh my gosh, I'm the Arkansas Teacher of the Year. What are you guys doing here?" And come to find out, there's a program where teachers in Arkansas can get a grant to get a fully expense-paid trip to Space Camp for PD. And it's called a STEMCon grant. And what I did on the report that I gave to all of you, at the bottom there is an actual link where teachers can go in and apply for this grant, and they will be allowed to go to Space Camp, experience all of the adventures, which, by the way, I'm going to tell you in a minute how it will impact them as educators. But they can go for free and come back and share everything that they learned with their students, their colleagues, and maybe other teachers across the state. So that was real exciting. Some of the highlights for me. We all know Space Camp is about teamwork and working together, but for me it was a real eye-opening moment to experience all of the STEM projects that were involved. I'm a literacy teacher, and I always focus on grammar, reading, writing. So for me to be in a room and them to tell me that I'm going to have to filter urine from the spaceship so that people can drink it, I was like, I have no idea what to do. And then at first I said, that's gross. And then I said, I have no idea what to do. But it really pushed me to my limit. And I really started thinking, what's involved in this? What materials would you really need? How did they make this happen? And we built space gear for our astronaut, our egg, to wear, and we had to set it on fire with a torch. And we had to make sure that our astronaut did not die because of the heat. And all of these things were so out of my element from a literacy background, but I will tell you this. When I go back to the classroom, I will never teach the same because of this experience. I will use STEM in my classroom. I will find a way. I don't know if you know it, but I have a Teacher of the Year Facebook group that I'm promoting, and I already have over 1,500 members on that group, over 600 teachers, a teacher from every state in the United States, and a teacher from around 10 different countries. And we are collaborating, we're sharing ideas. The ideas that we're getting on how to use STEM in art, in English, and they're putting those ideas on that page for other teachers to use and share. I want you to know that everything that I've gone and learned and done, I've tried relentlessly to get out there to all these teachers in Arkansas, because I want them to know it's not just a bubble in your own little world of your district and your classroom. There are so many things out there that can make them even better teachers. We had the opportunity to sit down with teachers. I think it was 22 countries were represented, and every afternoon we got to sit down with teachers in those countries and talk about the issues in education and talk about what worked. That's the conversation that I like to have. What's working in your countries? And, you know, we talked a lot about Finland, and I'm sure most of you guys have read about what's going on in Finland and these initiatives that they're doing. And it just really opened my eyes to some of the possibilities for Arkansas. I will say that 100% Arkansas is top notch in education. And I will share that with all the teachers in Arkansas. There are some things that I think, man, if we just open our eyes to a few of these ideas, we could excel even more. Computer science, as you know, I told you yesterday, Arkansas's in the top in computer science. And people all over the world know that. And I just want you guys to know that. The founder of Wikipedia came and presented to us and talked about why he created Wikipedia. And it was funny because the first words out of his mouth were, I'm sitting in a room with people who tell their students don't use Wikipedia. And we all laugh because that's true. We do tell our kids that. And he said Wikipedia was never invented or created to be a final step. It was created as the first step. So it's okay for kids to log on and see all of these sources on Wikipedia, get ideas, and then go expand their ideas. And I love this because he knew that the feedback from the Teachers of the Year was very important to his company, and he shared with us a next step vision for Wikipedia. And he gave us the challenge of sitting down as teachers and helping his company know where to go next with educators. And experiences like that are really fabulous, that teachers feel like they're getting a voice in whether it's textbook creation, survey, or whatever new policies are out there. I love that these kids are here today and they want to be involved in policy, and I will do what I can to help them and to be that voice and liaison for them. Last, I kind of wanted to share some of my goals for this year. One of my personal goals is to visit a school in every district in Arkansas. And I love the fact that y'all are interested in going out more and visiting schools. I will open my door for you to come with me. I will let you know. I'm sitting down next week. I'm going to make out a schedule, tentative schedule of what all districts I will go to and when, and I will share that with all of you. Please go with me. Teachers love that. When I go out to these schools, not only do I want to celebrate great teachers, because they need that, but I want to see what's working. I want to see the innovation in these schools. So when I eventually collaborate all of the things that I've learned through visiting these schools and put it out there to all these teachers, they will then know who their resources are if they want to have a school of innovation. Well, here are some of the schools of innovation that I went to visit during my tenure as Teacher of the Year. Look them up. Go see what they're doing. Here are the pictures. Here's what I found out. And of course, I want to bring some of that back to you all as well. So I'm really excited about that. And I just started a campaign about the truth. And part of that is, I don't know if y'all read my personal blog, but I will share that with you guys. Teachers need other people to know that we are professionals. So many teachers hold multiple degrees. They go to training, well over 36 hours of training in every summer. They constantly read books. They're constantly reading magazines, articles, doing blogs, participating in Twitter chats that are very educational. And people need to know that teachers are fighting every day to improve their craft, to be the best teacher for those students and everyone in Arkansas. So I really, really want to promote, I've put a challenge out there to Arkansas teachers to list on their door what their degrees are, what PD they've attended, how they are knowledgeable in their field and their expertise that they teach in their classroom. I've also told them to contact their local media outlets and share everything positive that's going on in their districts. And as a teacher, I know y'all probably feel the same way. It gets old turning on the TV and saying, here's the negative that happened in schools today. We need to multiply the positive, and I'm challenging educators across Arkansas to do that. So I hope that you will follow my journey this year. I hope to keep y'all posted on exactly what all I've been doing, getting people to cheer for educators for great policies, keeping teachers informed of what's going on here with the board, with the legislators as much as I can. And I feel really honored to be a part of this group. And I love that you all put kids first and that you fight for kids. And I'm proud to be here and do that with you. So thank you so much. Any questions?
Any questions from my colleagues? Otherwise, I know I have some comments, but no? Then to say, Ms. Abels, you are a shining example, just the way Ms. Newton was, of why it is so valuable to have teachers on this board. And for our students, that's where I do feel confident as well, that bringing that other perspective, right, more formally into the process is something that we all benefit from. And we can literally feel your energy and passion and doing the work that we do for exactly the reasons you say, where 9 times out of 10, it's more focused on the negative and sanctions and punishment. To have somebody that's there, and especially our teachers, right, that are reminding us about what this is all about, and to help inject that positive energy, I just think is such a tremendous asset. So I'm glad you went to the moon and back, yes. But we're glad you came back to Arkansas.
And I did land the spaceship safely. So
congratulations. So it shows when you put an Arkansan at the helm, great things can happen, right? Yes. And so, but thank you so much for that. We very much look forward to hearing from you. And if I could just ask, because I know every teacher of the year has been different in their approach to this. In my time on the board, I've seen some who have waited until the very end to offer us a presentation. In the case of Ms. Newton, it was an ongoing monthly conversation on different topics. If I could just ask for you, so we know how to best engage you over the course of the year. I know you had said you will be out in the community quite a bit, and that's very exciting for us as a community organizer. I actually will probably jump in the car with you. So on some of this stuff. But how have you thought about structuring this year then? What can we expect from you so we can better engage you in this year?
Well, I would love to report to you all every month, let you know kind of what I found out, resources that are available for educators, maybe what has happened in the last month and what's coming up in the next month. And just, I love that my voice will be heard on this. And yesterday, y'all reassuring me, ask questions. And I posted on Facebook last night on my group, my first day on the board. I'm so honored to share my voice on behalf of educators in Arkansas, and 200 likes instantly within an hour. I mean, teachers are excited, and they are proud that I'm here representing them. So.
That's fantastic. So we can expect something, I guess, a little bit of how Ms. Newton did it.
Yes,
monthly
yes,
reports on
yes,
different topics.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but focused overall in this bridge of communication between teachers and the board. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for that. Any other questions or comments from my colleagues or the commissioner? Well, then thank you so much, Ms. Abels. We look forward to working with you this year. Moving on then to our report 5, and Ms. Friedman, I think the commissioner teed you up, maybe even stole some of your lines previously. If you could kindly report on the My Child, My Student report.
Good morning, Kimberly Friedman, Director of Communications. A copy of my report is in the agenda online, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
So I look to my colleagues. Any questions?
make a comment? I'm very proud of the hard work that you've been doing. Your social media outreach is, I think, almost doubled, and you're really doing some great things, and I appreciate your work.
Well, thank you, and thanks to both you and Megan for helping us out. Ms. Newton actually wrote our newsletters last year, and Megan has taken on that task this year. And both of them actually helped us map out what our topics are going to be each month for this year. So I really appreciate both of your help on this.
Wonderful. Well, I'll reiterate again, Ms. Friedman, to you. I know I've done it privately, but always welcome the chance to do it publicly. Thank you as well for being considerate of the changing face of our students here in Arkansas, and the consideration of also offering this in another language. I know how much additional work on the plate of already so much work that you have, and so your commitment to communication. I just want to say, I just, at a personal level, I appreciate that profusely. And to my colleagues, then, I offered the challenge of us really taking this opportunity to be ambassadors. This really is one of the places where, whether it's through our Facebook or through our networks, where we have a chance to really direct people to some easy resources that give them just such a wonderful snapshot of the work that is happening, that the successes, as Ms. Abel so rightly said, that we're doing, and connecting the dots with the resources. I know I'm privileged in that I have a day job that lets me do this, and I've already made sure in all of our immigrant resource centers and all of my staff are handing these out as they go out into the districts in the next month. And I know everyone has different abilities to connect those dots, but we all do have networks, and so I challenge my colleagues to join in on this campaign. This is as much our campaign as it is the department's. This is our chance to, again, help be a voice for the department in a positive way, and so I really hope all of you all will join me in spreading the word about this campaign and spreading around the resources. So thank you so much, Ms. Friedman. I don't see any additional questions, so thank you for your efforts, and best of luck this year. So with that, we will have our final report from Ms. Smith, last but not least ever, from our Learning Services Department.
You know, it's kind of mornings like these where you have those aha moments where you think, man, I am so lucky to have the job that I have. And to hear things, giving your report, there were two teachers that had previously worked for me, one from Fountain Lake and one from Bryan. They didn't know each other, and they sent me pictures from Space Camp when they had connected. And knowing you were there, Tara, my goodness, those poor instructors. I mean, Arkansas gave it to them. And then these guys back here. I leaned over to Jeff and I said, Jeff, at 19 and 20, were you doing this? Wow, and when people talk about our youth not being prepared, wow, I'm just impressed. And that makes me proud to be an Arkansan and know that we've got stuff like this going on in our state. So I just thought that was great. Okay, I did upload a learning services report, and it highlighted many conferences that we participated in throughout the summer. I also had some information about a grant with our telemedicine with our school-based health centers that was within the report. But the thing I really want to highlight today is our new Innovate video, and I appreciate the commissioner allowing me to steal his thunder because he usually gets to share this. But our group headed to Springdale and did some interviews at Monitor Elementary, who has an attendance initiative going on up there, and that's why we went. But then when we got there, they had so many great things going on that we couldn't just make the Innovate video all about attendance and initiatives. But things to recognize about attendance is one of the biggest indicator for our 8th graders, our middle school students, who's going to drop out. So it's something we have to pay attention to. It's also a huge indicator of our kindergarten students who have chronic absentee, who's not going to be a reader by 3rd grade. And so there is valuable information about having positive incentive attendance programs, and so we're highlighting Monitor Elementary this morning. So Kim, if you'll play that, please.
Attendance is important to a child's academic progress. Attendance is important to a child's academic progress. When a student misses a day of school, he misses a day of learning. The faculty and staff at Monitor Elementary School in Springdale have developed a school culture focused on helping children and their families overcome any barriers to regular school attendance. At the turn of the 20th century, Monitor was a one-room schoolhouse. Today, it's a very different place. In 2015, Monitor's student attendance rate was 94%, slightly above the overall state attendance rate of 91%.
When you dig more deeply and really look at what made up that 6%, and you go deeper, you sometimes discover that we had some individual students and some families that had chronic absences.
It really took a team effort in the school as a whole, reaching out to the families, portraying that we are on the same side. We are not working against you, we are working with you for, just everything that's better for the child. And so it's really taken a whole community to become involved with the parents. We have, counselors on board, we have our administration, our school secretaries, our nurse, our Marshallese liaison, our teachers, just everyone working together to really work with the parents to get the students here.
Effectively communicating with parents is a priority at Monitor, where 1/3 of the students speak Spanish, another third are English speakers, and still another third have Marshallese as their native language. But that is not an obstacle to helping parents.
My registrar is a native Spanish speaker, my secretary is a native English speaker, and then we have a Marshallese parent liaison who is a native Marshallese speaker. And so that's part of being friendly and welcoming and doing whatever we can do to help, is making sure that we can communicate with parents.
And I guess because they understand the culture of one country, and that's make a difference. I mean, understanding and wanting to learn all about it is a big difference for us, because then I can tell my parents, like, this is where you can come to.
I want to really understand the cultures of the students in my school, because I think I can best help lead our school in meeting their needs if I understand what they value.
To help her understand the cultures her school serves, Ms. Childress has taken an educational tour of Mexico and also spent 2 summers in the Marshall Islands.
Celebrations are very, very important in the Marshallese culture. And so rather than fussing about attendance issues, we have celebrations for great attendance. And so we can get the same message across by having big celebrations at the end of each semester.
Another tool to help with student attendance is the school's family literacy program. Parents meet 4 days a week from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. During that time, they work on improving their language skills and other personal goals. They attend a parent training session and also spend time in their child's classroom.
They go in during that time and they are learning right beside their child, not helping their child, but learning so they can see how the teacher teaches, what the teacher is asking, so they experience what their child is experiencing in the classroom.
I think here we're like a family, and I really mean that genuinely. This is the 3rd school I've worked at in my career, and it's different than anything I've ever experienced.
Students' needs come before adult needs. Whatever a child needs, whatever we can do to make sure they're successful and their needs are met, that's what comes first for us. And the students know that.
That's in Arkansas. We've got good things going on, but we need to continue to do the work. So thank you. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you so much. Yes, Dr. Barth.
Just a couple of areas. First, from your report, the student health services, that new grant is quite exciting. I just did want to follow up. Probably maybe 10 months or a year ago, we had a conversation about the existing school-based health clinics and school-based health centers, and the fact that there's some of that funding that had gotten those centers off the ground was about to might be coming to an end. Are we pretty confident that the school-based health centers that are in existence are going to be able to keep going on in terms of funding?
I probably need to do some more research on that. I don't want to give you an answer today that's misleading or not factual, so let me dig into that a little bit more.
Yeah, that's fine. It's just maybe in the next couple of months, if you
Absolutely.
could just kind of give us an update, because it was kind of a warning. It was like, we've made great strides in terms of student-based health centers, but it was kind of a warning flag the last time we got a report on that the clock was about to tick out on some of those unless some new funding popped in.
Right,
So,
and I know we were able to provide funding this year. In fact, I just signed several of those grants, but let me dig into it a little bit more about the longevity of it and where we are on that.
yeah. And the other area that I wanted, you had noted about guidance and school counseling in here, and I just wanted to kind of raise up a little worry I have. Obviously, the new conscience clause for counselors and marriage and family therapists that is working its way through the legislature. I know that obviously school counselors are licensed under a different process than those counselors, but it is true that in certain schools there are folks who are licensed under the MFT and the counseling license that are working with students in those schools, right, in certain places?
School districts they can contract services for counseling services. And in having discussion about how those services will be contracted and discussions local school districts need to have, that is a discussion that the school themselves, they need to determine how they're going to handle that situation when they're doing those contracts. Actual school counselors and their observation within tests, they're to serve all students. The ethics that guide school counselors is to serve all students. Our stance is to serve all students. And so when districts are contracting services with other providers that fall under other guidelines, those are conversations they need to have at the onset of those, like how some of those situations are going to be handled. Many times you have multiple providers that districts are dealing with. But our stance from the department and from our counselors within schools, within our observation for school counselors, is that we're here to service all students.
And I greatly appreciate that. I just do want to highlight the fact that, in some of those districts where they are contracting, as in some cases maybe the only mental health services that are accessible to kids in those communities, that these conscience clauses could really not serve all kids, and especially kids who are gay or transgender kids who are particularly vulnerable in those communities could be threatened in terms of their access to mental health care and counseling. So I just want to highlight the potential impact of that rule change related to counselors and marriage and family therapists, in that we have opened some things up in recent years to allow some of those folks to work in schools. We need to be very conscious, I think, that the spirit that you articulated about our philosophy towards counseling services for students is, to the greatest degree possible, expanded to those other therapists working in schools.
Suzanne Knowles, who is our ADE Guidance and Counseling Director, was actually at a national conference where this was a very big topic for school counselors. And then even here at our state conference, going back and talking about what are the ethics around school counselors and the common message. She felt, I want to say renewed, or that when she came to the Arkansas School Counselors Conference, that the overall general attitude was, we're here for all kids, and we're here to service all students. So it is something that we are attuned to, and that she's out there spreading the message about servicing kids. So I thank you for your comments about that.
Thank you very much.
And if I could come at counseling from a different perspective, I know every year we receive updates in regard to shortage areas for our districts, and counseling has traditionally been on that list. How are we faring going into this year? And then I bring it up as well in the context of the conversations we've been having with Ms. Pfeffer, right, in terms of the pipeline of individuals going into higher institutions and studying this and getting prepared. how are we doing, one, in numbers, and two, what are we doing specifically? And I know, again, it's one of those things where it's ACE, right? The Arkansas Career Education, where counseling is housed, if that's correct. I just wonder if we're building enough awareness about this, because it's such an important area, and I'm concerned that I think this has been a shortage area ever since I've been on the board.
That's what I was going to mention. It is a shortage area. Counseling, in the past where we've kept the numbers, it's been for those first-time license areas. And so that we don't have, I don't know that we have the same type of data historically on those numbers, but it has been a shortage area, so I just have to go back and pull up a little bit more information on that and can update you at the next meeting if you need me to.
No, thank you. Well, and I guess I put it out there as much for you and probably more for my colleagues as we get into these conversations this fall. This is also a critical area that we've, as a state, been challenged in terms of both recruiting and filling in terms of positions. And it's an area that, as we start getting into school year, I wouldn't be surprised if we normally see waiver requests, right, of not having those. And so to kind of tee that up for something we'll see for the fall, I think as we talk about, and then that leads into my other question for you, Ms. Smith, around the CCRPP program, as we try and tee up more individuals for careers and having successful careers. Are we also building the bridge and connecting the dots in terms of the opportunities? Because obviously counselors play a huge role in terms of individuals being able to really see all of their career possibilities. And so with that, I was wondering, Ms. Smith, if you could speak to, I was just curious how these 9 districts or 9 entities were selected. Is it because there's a college that was the kind of main one in each of these?
No, we actually had an application period, and so they submitted applications that were reviewed by a committee and scored on rubrics. Several of the factors that were taken into account was their effectiveness in the past, if they've had a program in the past, and their pass rate for students and their growth. Per student cost, the overall plan of the program. And so we pulled people. Tommy Coy was the one who actually headed up the committee, and he pulled folks from several different units and within the learning services to read over the applications and came up with their final criteria. We took the sum of money that we had and kind of started from the top and went through to the point where we could fund as many of them as possible.
Thank you. Well, I'm thrilled to see Little Rock on here, obviously, in the Little Rock School District. I think this will be a tremendously important opportunity for them. I guess I would have liked to have seen more from maybe South Arkansas or East Arkansas. I get concerned when I see certain districts pop up over and over again, and just trying to make sure that when we think of equity in these opportunities, we're thinking statewide, and the opportunities here. And it may be that the applications weren't presented, or that there's still some work to be done. And I just maybe if I could express aspirationally, and I know I've done this with the Forward Initiative, and I'll be doing it again as we continue these visioning conversations. Sometimes I think we need to do some work on the upfront with districts to get them prepared to take advantage of these opportunities. And I think there's still sometimes when I've been trying to be more intentional, looking at the geography and just knowing that we see some concentration in resources in certain parts of the state. If we're doing what we can, or what more could be done, I guess is more the question I'd like to pose, is, again, not necessarily for today, but more as an ongoing conversation, to make sure that we're helping the districts that need these opportunities the most to be prepared to put in competitive applications and take advantage of these opportunities. So, and again, it's not a critique of this, but just more something I'm hoping a lens, a perspective to bring to the table in all of our conversations this fall. So
thank you for your comments.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Any additional questions or comments from my colleagues? Then thank you so much, Ms. Smith. Excellent report. If there's no other business before the board, I would accept a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Williamson, seconded by Mr. Black. All in favor? Aye. All right, thank you. Thank you, everyone, and to educators in the room, go get them with the start of the school year. We wish you the best of luck.